Let's bring you more on our top story now. And Israel has launched what it's described as a large-scale attack inside Syria after one of its fighter jets was shot down by an Iranian drone. The Israeli Defence Force says the F-16 fighter jet flew into Syrian airspace to destroy Iranian targets. One of the two pilots was seriously injured after ejecting from the aircraft shortly before it plunged to the ground and burst into flames. Well, to discuss this, we're joined by James Sorene. He's Chief Executive of BICOM, the pro-Israel lobby group. James, many thanks for being with us.
Hi there.
Just in terms of what we have seen today, and we will no doubt be seeing for some hours or perhaps even days, this is not an isolated incident, is it?
No, this is part of an ongoing sort of conflict between conflicts where Israel has said to Hezbollah and Iran that we will not allow an escalation of the advanced weaponry that you have. We will not allow chemical weapons to get into the hands of Hezbollah. And for some years now, Israel has been carrying out surgical airstrikes against facilities in Syria. Just this week, they launched a strike against the CRS facility north of Damascus, which was responsible allegedly for the Khan Sheikhoun chemical weapons attack.
Just in terms, though, of the nature of this response, I mean, even the Israeli Defence Force is saying that this is significant retaliation. Yeah. Given what has happened to the Israeli F-16, I mean, do you see this response from the Israelis as proportionate?
Well, what's happened here is that the first incident was an Iranian drone was sent from an Iranian airbase over Israeli territory. That was shot down by a helicopter. And then in response, Israel hit the actual drone launch site and other sites, which is something that Israel will do, and there's a kind of acceptable rules of the game. What happened, which was out of the ordinary, was a very heavy barrage of anti-aircraft missiles were fired at those Israeli jets and really crossing a red line for Israel and the security of its northern border. Anti-aircraft missiles were fired over Israeli territory. Now, it's not clear if one of those missiles hit the Israeli F-16 or whether the pilots bailed out because they thought that the missiles had locked on. But it's a very serious escalation because an Israeli jet has not been hit in this way since 1983.
Does the Israeli government want this to escalate further? One has to say, on the basis of the attacks that have happened thus far, it seems they're at least sanguine about the prospect.
Well, they have said already that the operation is over, and the idea about this is maintaining deterrence. So Israel says to Iran and Hezbollah, we will not allow certain things to happen on our northern border or close to it, and Iran and Hezbollah have to then accept what is the limits of their activity. So Israel is saying, we will hit these targets, we will stop you getting these weapons. Israel is hit back against, the infringement over its northern border and is saying the operation is over. I think the big issue here now is what happens next, what happens the next time that there is some kind of escalation, and the crucial issue as well is what is Russia doing in all of this, because Russia is the go-between. It has interests and alliance with Israel. It has an alliance with Iran and Hezbollah as well, and it's allowing all this to play out.
Well, it would seem that the Russians are, at the very least, singing from a slightly different hymn sheet from the Iranians in all of this. Iran would presumably like to see this proxy war continue. The Russians calling for calm, calling for a de-escalation.
Well, I think Russia cares about Russia and its interest in Syria. It wants stability. It wants to be able to continue its very permanent presence, its naval port and its air base. It doesn't want an all-out war between Israel and Iran, but it will allow this to sort of flare up every now and again. And let's not forget, what's happened here as well in terms of military hardware is that potentially a Russian-made manufactured anti-aircraft system has potentially led to the downing of an American-made F-16 jet. So for the Russian defense industry, this is kind of a good day for them within the singular sort of fact that, a pilot has been shot down and is severely injured. But that's an interesting angle on the Russian side.
Isn't perhaps the most dangerous thing in all of this is that you may well see groups like Hezbollah taking the events of this morning as justification for yet another barrage of rocket attacks, to which one presumes the IDF would have to respond? Well,
Hezbollah is very well experienced in taking very spurious things to be their justification, and they have a very strong presence on the Lebanese border. In Israel's north, they have 130,000 missiles, they have 25,000 fighters, they've got 8,000 fighters in Syria. They are in a very strong military position because they are now able to threaten Israel on the Syrian border and on the Lebanese border. So, I mean, whether they use something for a justification or not, Israel is trying to protect its border, and it's saying that it does not want Hezbollah to have chemical weapons and advanced missiles in its possession, and it will do everything to stop that.
James Sorene from BICOM, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you.